about what's coming upon the earth. What does this mean? And one.
Jermaine, you are early. You guys are ready. Oh man.
Oh, Dad has a laptop. Oh,
It's live. It's live.
sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Yeah, how many of your friends full episodes, yeah? Oh, sorry. That should have been. I was.
No.
How you doing?
Good evening.
Hey,
Can you hear us proper? Yeah.
I have Wi-Fi. I have Wi-Fi again. We've had no Wi-Fi for about properly for about 2 months. That's because we thought our equipment was failing, but what they had done was do some work across the road and switch cables and.
They're messing about with your stuff.
This is not the time messing with people's internet, man.
All the Zoom parties we've been a part of, have been glitchy, you know. Thanks for joining us, man.
No problem, no problem. How are you doing?
No. It's either that or weed.
What's up, Wyatt?
You're right.
Yeah, man.
Happy lockdown, mate.
Mm.
You're all right.
You're alright, we're alright.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys. Thank you for taking the time out.
Yeah.
You guys are real soldiers, man. You're real soldiers.
Why you say that?
You put a real. Yeah. You say why you say that. Go on.
You can't just.
Because you guys are on the same page in your work. We'll talk about it in a minute, I guess.
All right. Yeah.
We appreciate that you guys just work together. How do you do that? There's another topic, actually. Let me write that one down.
Yeah, that's later on. And produce results.
Working together. Sorry, one minute.
Oh,
Just...
sorry. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Ain't that big since qualities. I can't look the camera.
Yeah, you guys work so well together, but you know, there's so much to go through tonight.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and squeeze it in.
On your page about these two will let you know. You put a lot of pressure on that, brother.
Oh yeah.
The pressure-
You let us know. These two are going to let us know how it's done.
Some people don't work well unless they're under pressure.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That is me. I'm gonna put a disclaimer. I'm only gonna share what works for us. I'm not the Easter Bunny or anything like that with the answers to anything. We just know what works well and what doesn't work well for us. So
That's all we need to know. That's all we need to know, bro. So thank God for you, man. Let's start. I mean, first of all, we'll talk about your lockdown. Just get a little experience on that, and then we'll tell the people who you are. I'm gonna throw some questions at you. You're gonna turn up because you're ready. You know, because it's the ones. You know what I mean?
hey.
I remember we was at a retreat together, and Danielle said, "You're Jermaine. What do you mean?" What do you mean?
Oh, you remember that story? Yeah.
I'm ready, boy.
You guys are ready. All right, lovely. So, man, how's your lockdown experience, man?
Yeah, it's good. Do you pray to start, or do you just go straight in, or?
We go straight in, bro.
Okay.
It's all about God. It's happening.
We prayed already.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, we did as well, so that's cool.
You know what? We were already used to. We were already working at home together. Our circumstances had made us be at home together. So the only difference is that our children were obviously at school. So in terms of a change in the lockdown, we were just already used to just being in each other's space all during the day. So the only adjustment we had to make was now trying to work and then homeschool the children.
Look after
Yeah. Yes.
What did you say?
Look after the picnic. Okay, don't understand those.
What do you mean I don't understand? I'm more Jamaican than you. What do you mean? No, I get you, man. Oh, we've been there. We've done some homeschooling a few years back. And we've been on and off, one at home, one at work, and both at home and all that. We've done it. But you guys are doing it so well. It's more about you, to be honest.
I mean, I wanted to answer a question about the fact that lockdown means this is compulsory. So how have you done with the compulsory aspect? How have you done with the fact that we've never seen something like this in our lifetime? Even our elders can say they've never seen something like this in their lifetime. Beyond the fact that you're together at home, working together as you usually do, how has the whole, not only lockdown, the COVID-19, everything else, the pressures, what's on the planet, how has it impacted the Wong's house?
I think the initial response was, I think, like what the majority response is, of being very, very concerned about what's coming upon the earth. What does this mean? And one also of anger. How dare they tell me I can't come out of my yard? Who are you to tell me that I cannot leave my house and go and do what I want to do? So part of me was...
Can I just ask you to come close to the camera and say that, please?
Yeah. I was like, you can't tell me not to leave my house. Like, how dare you? So I think in rebellion, at certain points, I was like, I'm coming out my yard. Like, I'm coming out. Like, I'm cool. Like, I'm not like very, maybe selfishly, but it's like, I'm not catching it. I'm going to the shop, I'm coming out my yard, I'm going to ride. And, you know, yeah, so initially I felt like that, like, how dare you tell me that I can't walk God's good green earth? Like, but then just with the kids and just trying to be an example for them as well. And
seeing how serious things are actually getting.
Yeah, and then the news, you know, hearing the news and everything like that, you kind of, it etches away at your resolve a little bit. And it's just like, oh man, like 30 people have died. And at that point, you're just like, right. And then when it gets to 300 people have died, and when it gets to like, yo, yeah, enough people have died. Like maybe we to stay in. But in all of that, even though initial concern,
I think it was a shock as well at first, isn't it? You know, you just look at each other like, can you believe this?
Yeah.
Can you believe what's going on? Like, and sometimes you'd like joke about it, like every day we would go shopping and be like, yes, we're ready to get locked in, we got our food. But then, you know, the seriousness would hit you and you'd be like, wow, actually, this is not a joke, you know? And so I think it's just a mixture of emotions as you're trying to kind of really come to terms with what's happening.
Yeah. I think the good thing though, it's like, it's made me have to question, why do you do the things that you do?
Give me an example of that.
So I'll give you the number one example for me is, why are you a Christian? Why
that was my question.
Yeah. Why do you have a relationship with me? So Jermaine, do you have a relationship with me because it's just something your uncles and everybody used to do? Do you have a relationship with me just because you don't want to go to hell? Do you have one just because you want to go to heaven? Yeah. And if any of these things don't come back with, because I just love you, then me and you have to have a conversation and get to the bottom of it. And there was nowhere to run. There's no, I got to do this and I got to do that for me to escape these questions. It's just like, yeah, we got time for us to have a chat.
Yeah.
You can't run from me now. I've closed 2020. 2020 is closed, so me and you can have a chat about our relationship on the real.
Yeah. I'm glad you've seen it from that perspective, because I remember when we were nearing the lockdown, I said to Kurt, you know, what if they do shut the churches? Like, what does that make us now? Do you know what I mean? We can't go to church. Is our Christianity based on the fact that we're going to church every week? And if it is, we got to scratch that and start something fresh, because it's not good. Do you know what I mean? And it felt like the ground was taken from under us. Not that we grew up avid churchgoers, like every week without fail, from 9:30 to 9:30. But now we've been like maybe church 2 weeks in a month, home.
You said 9:30 to 9:30.
Yeah, no joke.
What you just said. No
joke. So we felt like, it's not like we've been steaming ahead with church every day, all day like we used to. So not going to church for 1 week can't be that bad. Now it's been 3-4 weeks and actually the possibility of it being for 6 months, maybe even 18, what does that make us now? And so when you're saying, you know, God has said, right, it's time for us for a little chat, for us to have a little chat, it's not you only, brethren.
Okay. Yeah, because
I feel like it's the planet Sabbath. Like you all need to just stop a minute.
yeah.
And I still feel like I am still going 30 miles an hour
Yeah.
and coming to the stop. I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to. I really want to, and I'm going to.
And I'm finding that I'm really seeking God now, because, like you said, like you're forced to look at your own relationship. So I could go to church and be real lazy. I can just listen to the sermon, listen to the music, go home, and that's as much as I need to put in. But now it's like, well, and because I'm asking these questions like, what's happening? What does this mean? Is this the end of the world? All of those kind of questions. Like, I haven't got, you know, I can't go to church and get my answers. You know, I could scroll the internet, but who knows what I'm going to find. So it's best that I just speak for myself. And in my prayer, in my study, I'm finding that I'm getting, not only am I getting peace, but I'm just getting closer to God and just getting more of an understanding of what this thing is that I've chosen to be a part of. And I feel like I'm getting stronger, so that it's nothing to do with. So if my church does lock down and all the pastors have gone on furlough, you know, that's now not affecting me, because I still have my own connection with God. I know what I believe. I know what my Bible says. And it's not based on anything else. It's set me and him. And I think that sort of way in which God is turning things around in this situation to give him glory, because so many of his believers now are going to be doing that same thing, are going to be seeking them on a personal level. Nothing to do with how I look, what people are going to look at me in church, and if I got my Bible, how big my Bible is. No one's looking on you. It's just you in the house. God is looking at you. So it's just about you and him now. So
I said the other day, I'm not taking out all your questions. I'm looking for something specific to this. I woke up and I had this on my mind, and I said, because I remember when this year started, it was like, this is the 2020, the year of vision. You know what I mean? The year of perfect vision.
We go.
And I said,
2020 vision.
it was at your house, isn't it?
Yeah, you was at ours. We was killing some tunes and dancing, saying,
like, this year's the one. This year's
the one. You get me?
And
I
is the one.
Well, I said this when I woke up last week. Praise God for his mercies. I think it was on Thursday. The year 2020 is still the year of perfect vision. How did you think that we were going to see ourselves if we couldn't keep still?
Why?
And that came to my heart, like, strong. I still got to write a piece on it. Lord Jesus, keep me still so I can do what I have to do. And it was just basically clarification, especially in terms of having you lot on, because you brought the year in with us. That this year of vision, and I hate those little kind of sayings anyway. They don't sit with me right. It's the year of 2020 perfect vision. I just think it's cheesy. But it actually, when we heard it at that time, or if we had heard it in the wind, it would have been about, this is a year for your business. This is a year for your car, for your yard, how you want it to be. And actually, I have come to the conclusion in this difficult 3 weeks that we've had so far, this still is the year of perfect vision. The best vision you're ever going to get in your life.
But
because being kept still, we have to rely on him totally. Do you know what I mean? There's no distractions.
100%.
But limited distractions. And we got no choice but to thank God for the 2020 and the 2020 perfect vision that we are all getting.
We've reclaimed it now, one, because of what you just said. It's
the
2020 vision.
We're going to see the end of this year, man.
We can see clearly. We can see clearly. And I think about that story with Elisha and his servant, when he was surrounded, and his servant's like, how are we going to get through this? And he was like, open your eyes. Like, look around you, I'm surrounded. You know what I mean? So this is the year of 2020 vision.
You know what I really like about, I'm not going to label, but what I really like about that point there.
Don't steal it in on your sermon.
No. I've already got it here.
I don't
it in there. Yeah. What I really like about that is he says, Lord, open his eyes so he can
Yes.
He didn't need to see. He just, he just needed to, like, I already know what's going on without me having to see. But he's got a little bit of a weaker faith, so you show him what the deal is. And I really like that, because sometimes that's the vision that we have to have. We have to have the vision of faith. It's just to know that even when we don't see it, we're sorted. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Nice. So anyway, so that's how we've been kind of rolling in the one family in the lockdown, man. We've just been getting we've just been looking at God on a deeper level, looking at our relationship on a deeper level, and
getting to spend time with the children as well, because obviously it's usually a rush, get them to school, get home, get your homework, have your dinner, go to bed.
Yeah.
We're having the time to sit down and have devotion with them and speak to them. And and that's happening on a daily, so we're definitely loving that.
Trust me, we've not been having we weren't having no devotion with the kids. We weren't having no devotion with the kid, but it's not something that we didn't want to do.
But same with us, because of time.
Yeah. We want.
It was a quick prayer. Good night, Jesus, cover, bless, night.
But now it's almost like you got the time to just.
Yeah, it's part of our routine now. Okay, get your breakfast, guys, and then get your Bibles.
And you know what? We're talking of, and just so that everyone knows, and I'm going to introduce you guys in a sec. We are normal families living in the city, subject to all the influences that the world can throw at us. I'm speaking on behalf of you as well. And here we are, and our children are actually embracing getting to know God. And I find this one of the strangest things that I never expected, that we're going to get together now and have worship. Right, we're going to have to get together now, just have a little study. We're going to get together and pray. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, I didn't know you'd like it. I thought you'd be running. I thought you'd be fun. Because when I grew up, that's what we did. We hated it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. When they would say worship time, I'm like, oh.
Man.
Like, draw my eyeballs out, bro. But
now, generation, we're breaking this bread a bit different. Man, I want to talk to you about that, but we got to go through this.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Go through this.
Go for it. Let's do it.
But Danielle and Jermaine, how am I going to bring you in? Because you're doing too much. What are you not doing? Final Call Productions.
You've got tell us a tiny bit. Yeah, plug it quick.
Final Call Productions specialize in theatre, film, and poetry. So our major things with Final Call Productions right now is Transcendence. We did Transcendence just before the lockdown. We got one in just before.
Transcendence is our poetry, spoken word poetry night.
And then our theatre side is And There Was War. We put a theatre show on in December at the Broadway Theatre. And our film projects, we got so much film projects. But our film stuff right now is Jermaine Thinking Spots. Season 3 has just come back out. We've been releasing those every week.
So there's a lot that we can't do at the moment because we're not able to get actors and we're not able to. So Jermaine's doing his stuff in our studio.
Yes. Not even it.
Nah, man.
Knows.
The studio.
It's a studio. We just keep our bikes and all our junk in there as well.
Yeah.
I know what. As long as they don't see that behind the camera. I mean, you guys, and I'm still plugging you because I think you're great. Straight up. I mean, after that play that messed me up, the Love One. What was it? That one, oh, you lot messed me up. You did it at Battersea, you did it at Kennington.
I'm having sex.
Sex.
Yeah.
That's when I kind of really saw the talent, and I kind of saw Danielle at that point more than anything. But because I didn't know you acted then, but these are professional actors, in my opinion. Yeah. Okay, professional actors by any standard, and that play messed up. We've got to move on. That play messed me up. I'm telling you straight.
So we're saying, if you are an organisation out there, and once the lockdown is finished, and even though the lockdown's going on, tune into Jermaine Thinking on YouTube. And when the lockdown's done, they do lots of theatrical productions and other stuff and a poetry night. And you need to get yourself there once you get childcare for the poetry night. And the whole family can do their theatre productions.
Yeah.
Plus, Jermaine is the elder at church.
Yeah.
Anointed, chosen, and gifted, and has led the Kennington Community Fellowship and Canberra for a while.
Say again?
He's a poet.
And he's a poet.
Poet.
That's good. That's good. What she just did there's going to lead into the love thing that we're going to talk about. What she just did right just now, without any prompting. Yeah.
Fire man.
Oh, that's
and Danielle's a singer.
Yeah, I'm not a singer now.
No, she's the brains behind it all and the coordinator. Do you know what I mean? And she does so well at that with just grace and poise. And I don't see her frazzled. I don't know how you do it. But, yeah.
Let me throw this at you.
You don't even know who they are yet.
Jermaine Wong and Danielle Wong.
Danielle, okay. All right. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Is there more?
No.
You're our friends.
Yeah.
We brought in a new year together. I mean,
yeah, the type of friends that bring in the new year together. That's
and your home. Yeah. And your home is always open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not now.
Not now.
You know. See you next week.
Via Zoom is open.
Okay. But your home is always open, and I think that you guys have the spiritual gift of hospitality.
Yeah.
Clearly. Not everybody has that. However, statistically, you guys should have failed a long time ago.
Is it?
Let me put the numbers would have told. Didn't the number tell you that? I'll tell you.
But the Lord.
I'll tell you why. Because
My God.
Statistically, second marriages.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
What? Unless they last longer. No.
No, they don't. They are shorter, very short. Not only that, but we have a blended family. Tell us about your family setup, please.
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that. Like, we're a blended family, but ever since I was maybe in year 7, first year when I was that young, I wanted a family. I wanted a big family just like my dad's. So we've got a big boy.
Yeah, so Jermaine already had a son, and I already had a daughter and a son when we got married, and then we had a child together. So
that just
we have 4 now. That
cemented everybody together. She belongs to all of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, the numbers. Some people slip through the net, but it's not just you not living to the numbers. You've, in our opinion, you're showing us how it's done. How long have you been married now?
It'll be 6 years this year.
Yes.
What? Never thought. What? 6 years.
But before beating the odds, you've got a twist on the story, because you're actually childhood sweethearts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We forget about that. So we.
You should write a movie about this now.
Okay. Yeah. It's in there. It's in the canon of things to do. It's in there. Right. But yeah, we used to be together at 6 when we were 16. And then, you know, as 16-year-old relationships go, I did love her. I did love her at 16. Like, as much as...
broke up with me on Valentine's Day. That don't really sound like love. That's
on Valentine's Day?
Valentine's.
How do you trust him again, man?
I was calling him to see what was happening that night. He was locking it up.
Yeah. There's a valid reason, but she don't believe me, but there's also a valid reason for it. So, anyway, like I was saying, it was a 16-year-old love, and we broke up on Valentine's Day, but then we got back together, right?
Yeah. So actually, it's funny because I used to keep a diary at that age, and the way we both remembered it is actually different to what I had written down. So I found my diary just very recently, like last year, and we were reading through and saw that we were seeing each other on and off, like up until almost 20, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was a good read, man, because you know your memory. I was remembering things and swear down. This is how it went.
Yeah.
When we was going over the history of our lives, it's just like, bro, It's just like, bro. So we had been seeing each other for about a year and a half after I thought that we had broke up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So then, but then, you know, so we went our separate ways. Jermaine had a son, so we went our separate ways, and then we came back together. Good old Facebook got us back in touch.
You missed a bit. We linked back up at 21.
Yeah.
But that was really just that was her.
Brief.
She had gained some confidence and tried to booty call me. Yeah, you did. You're gonna expose me on Valentine's Day. That's what happened.
Danielle, if you want revenge, take it now.
Vengeance is mine.
I'm a Christian then. Disclaimer. Yeah, that didn't work out.
Yeah. So I might have put my foot in it.
Yeah. Anyway.
So she did. And it was, So anyway,
That didn't work out.
That didn't work out.
And so we went our separate ways. So I believe Jermaine, when he got married and divorced. And I also, when I got married, I had 2 children and then got divorced. And then like I said, we met back up on Facebook. We had been, you know, when you're friends with someone on Facebook, we had been friends on Facebook for a while, but never really like actually spoken. And then, you know what, it was God's plan. It was I was in a weird time, so it was like, you know, I didn't really know what to do with myself. You know, I had settled in my mind that I was going to be a single mother. But God had other plans, and when we look back, we can see what his plans were. We can
see clearly.
But at the time, you know, we started talking again, and we connected.
Straight away.
Yeah, we connected in a big way.
Straight away. When that green light, I saw the green light on Facebook. And I typed in my normal greeting, "Hey, Miss Love," because that's her former name. "Miss Love, how you doing?" She goes, "Oh, so nice to meet you." And I goes, "What's going on?" She goes, "Do you want the short version or the real version?" And I was like, "Oh, this sounds interesting. What's going on? What's going on, Miss Love?" 6 hours later, when we put the full stop on that conversation, I was like, "Uh-oh." Hook,
line, and sinker. Both of us, though.
Yeah,
you know,
I was like, uh-oh. Yeah, whatever this is, it's not going to stop.
Wow.
And I was just like, all right. Yeah, so we got some things to work out. And and then that was 6 years ago.
7.
Almost, 7 years ago.
Got to be 7 years.
Yeah. And I remember seeing you, I was singing at a concert, and I remember seeing you take that brave step and propose in front of everyone.
Yeah, I was there. We were there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
We were there, we were crying like, oh my days. I was crying. Yeah, so that was amazing. Go on, because I could long that out.
I think I got some questions for you. Because you guys help other couples too.
Yeah.
How have you grown? Let me just think. What was the question I asked?
What makes us qualified to counsel other couples?
One.
Yeah.
Go on. What qualifies it? How can you be talking to other people about successful marriage? That sounds bad, isn't it?
No, that's fine. We have a successful marriage, number one.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Okay.
I think, you know, in all honesty, like whatever situation you go through in life, there's always a way that you can overcome, and there's outcomes. And I believe that God has a specific purpose that he can. It's obviously wasn't his intention that either of us was to divorce. But you know, he can spin things around for his glory.
Interesting.
I believe that we have both learned a lot through our bad experiences. And so much so we can even look back and say, oh, what if we got together when we were this age? We would be like, it wouldn't have worked. What about when we were this age? It wouldn't have worked. Because we knew that at those points, what we were like mentally, and if we, you know, when we can look back now, we can see we weren't ready for this thing called marriage that we jumped into. And so God had grown us in wisdom and made us learn from our experiences and got us both to this place at exactly the right time, in God's time, that we're now able to share that wisdom with others. So we can tell you what a bad marriage looks like, and we can tell you what a good marriage looks like, and the difference. So that's what I believe qualifies us. Plus, obviously, we're connected to the author of marriage in the first place. So
Yeah. I wanted to have that because I was thinking in my head, I would have rewritten your story and said, just hold tight, 16, and just keep it moving. You know what I mean? But then obviously, Keelan has to have been on this planet, so that's very important. You know what I mean? You can't take that away. And so as Gabby and Don, they have to be here as well. You know what I mean? And then little Jazzy. So then you can't wipe them out the story. But I think sometimes we can think that we can orchestrate things and think, well, let's just rewrite the story, innit? Just why didn't you just stay together from you were 16? Yeah. You've made it clear that you guys wouldn't have had the experience, the mindset. Do you know what I mean? Not tenacity to even say, you know what, we're going to produce a good marriage now. That needed experience and sometimes pain to produce something good. And
the thing is, the family that I have is the family I've always wanted. It's in. It doesn't matter whether it's blended or if I side all of the children. The family that I have, like, you can't pass air between Gabrielle and Donovan between us, and it's been like that since the very get-go. Since the very get-go, from the day we met. I remember when Gabby fully embraced me, was going shopping, and she saw me, and I'm trying to turn up like just a friend just turning up, but you know, I've been there, and she looked at me and she's like, "Daddy Yooks." And I remember the day she did that, and it was just like, yeah. And I was mostly scared that she wasn't going to accept me when she was younger, but she accepts me the most. And now, like,
it's blood.
You cannot say that they're not my, like, you would not be able to say that they're not my children. Or that they come from me, especially when we're all in this house. Yeah. Like, it's
one.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing, and so it doesn't. One of my desires has been fulfilled through the blended family. Yeah.
One of the features of you guys' ministry, in past at least, I don't know if it's still running now, but it is communication. Mm-hmm. Why is communication for you guys such a big thing?
Communication and resolution.
Yeah.
To resolve.
One of the things I experienced in my first marriage was not having honest communication, and that is also in terms of being honest with myself. The doubts I had, the unhappiness I had, not being honest with myself and not being honest with him.
Can you break that down? What do you mean you're not honest with yourself?
So like, let me give you an example. I had an idea of what I thought a Christian wife should be. And so I acted in that role, not to try and deceive anyone, but I thought, well, as a Christian woman, I shouldn't be listening to bashment music. So therefore, I won't listen to bashment music, but I still love bashment music. So I'm trying to pretend that that's not a part of me, and it is. And so I could, you know, and there's lots of examples I could give. But basically, I would just act in a way that I thought that I was supposed to, rather than being my true self and allowing myself to grow in Christ and allowing me and my ex to grow in that way. So when things got really bad, my true self came out, and he's like, "Right, who is this?" Because now all of a sudden I'm like, "Yo, like, who's this?" You know. And so one of the things I would say that I learned was to be honest from the beginning, and that's what me and Jermaine said from the very beginning. Like, even if it's going to hurt, even if it's not going to be nice, we need to be honest.
We coined a phrase called Honestville. Honestville. That very first Facebook conversation, we had come up with this phrase called Honestville, and it just means, even if you're going to get hurt with what I'm going to say, let's just say it, and then we can talk about it. We can work it out after. Because at the end of the day, we love each other. I know you love me, and you know I love you. So if I say something that is going to hurt you, I don't mean to hurt you, it might hurt you, but it's not my intention to hurt you. But if we talk honestly about it, then we can get through it because we both know that we love each other.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about it and just be honest about it.
Yeah, and because I think when you don't do that, when you sweep things under the carpet or you pretend that they're not there, you're doing your own self-detriment, because, you know, the issue hasn't gone away. You know, the annoyance might even grow over years. So it might be like 10 years before you know, something comes up in you. But, you know, it's just, to me, it just makes sense. Like, neither of us are perfect, and our relationship is not perfect to begin with. And I think maybe when you get married, you think, oh, we're so in love and everything's so great and our marriage is going to work out. But, you know, I just think you have to be honest that two people are trying to become one in a sinful world is not easy. And so if you're honest with each other and you agree, you know what, let's make this work. Meaning, if I see something in you I don't like, you see something in me I don't like, we need to try and work that out, rather than I'm just going to pretend that this is not happening because this is not my fairy tale. This is not my... It really is about working together. And the way I believe you work together is with that honest communication.
I wanted to go back a bit because you said there was elements where you had to pretend. I actually, in my mind, I thought that was pretending outside of the home to everybody else or in church or whatever. But it was actually inside your home.
Yeah.
So that must have been quite stifling. It's a silly question. Not really?
It wasn't.
You just got into the role?
Because I didn't realize, you know, it's not like I had chosen, right, I'm now going to pretend, you know. This is just in my mind thinking, well, I'm just doing the right thing. I believed I was just doing the right thing.
Okay.
Behaving in this particular way that I'm supposed to behave. But it's not until later on I can look back and say, I should have been honest about who I was.
Well, okay.
And about how I felt about whatever situation was taking place. And so it wasn't like it felt like, oh, I'm keeping it down. It just, I was doing that, but it's not until later I can look back and say, I shouldn't have done that.
That wasn't me. Yeah.
What happens sometimes is you're a version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember being in a relationship and I was a perfect gentleman. Which is not me. It is me, but it was the me that is at the beginning.
The side of you that won Danielle over, now it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you talk me about it all the time. That's one of the things we have to talk about. Is like, when you first come in, I was.
Yeah. What happened to all the poems you used to write? Where's them gone?
Where the letter there? Where the letter? The letter you used to write.
Yeah. So you're a version of yourself, and but there's times when, and then you suppress the other versions of yourself that, you know, likes a little bit of jungle music or likes a little bit of, let me slap you on your bum when you're going upstairs, or you know what I mean? And you try to be that perfect gentleman all the way through, but then it gets in a way that gets stifling, because sometimes you just wanna just get back and just be like, yo,
rock out.
But then if you've not been doing that, or if you feel like, no, that's not the appropriate thing to do, then it does get stifled.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that
because we've got some engaged folk on here. He was supposed to get married this year.
Yeah. And this is it. They need to hear it. Sorry, we're talking to single, married, and divorced, and engaged folk. We know that they're
single. Everybody.
That's good. We've been engaged. I've been engaged.
Single.
Broken engagement, broken marriage, single. We've been through all of the categories.
You've done it all.
We need you on it every day then.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that it's better for a couple, it's better for you to know who you are and just be 100% yourself.
But sometimes you don't know yourself fully. But that's why you need to be honest. Because it might be something you're growing to learn about yourself. So if I had said, you know what, I don't think as a Christian woman I should be listening to Bashman, but I really like Bashman. That would have been me being honest, and then we could have had a conversation, and maybe I should have prayed about that. Do you know what I mean? But not that that's like some deal breaker or anything like that, but that's just an example of how knowing who you are and trying to be something else, you know, it just doesn't work. Rather be honest, and especially with your spouse, that's the person you're supposed to be honest with, and you're supposed to be saying, I'm supposed to be able to tell you, you know, all my little weird things, and you're not supposed to judge me and laugh at me, do you know what I mean? But you're supposed to support me and help me through that.
And if you do laugh, if you do judge and laugh, say sorry. I know I judged and laughed at you, and it made you feel a certain thing, but that's just my initial reaction. But I will try not to do that again. It's like you have to be honest and open about everything, because sometimes they say stuff and you do want to judge. You do want to judge and laugh because it's based on experiences that you've had back in the day. Everything you do is based on an experience that you've had from somewhere else. So it's just about being open and honest and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Listen, man, it's important. I've grown in that because I think I'm just wondering how much preparation I had before I got married. And a lot of what you're saying, I learned a few years back.
Okay.
And it was, I remember there was things in my head because I was a version of myself. And even as time goes on, even now, I'm being more myself. And it can be a bit ugly. Not in that, not like violence or anything, more like, this isn't who I married kind of thing. Like, you know, it can be like that. And I get that when I'm speaking for myself now. And that can scare the other person. And I remember one time I had to sit down and tell Juanita something about me. And I was like, this is the end.
One of them. One of them.
But that was, huh?
One of them ones.
It was me. I had to take a risk. I was like, you know what, God, we're still here, man. I've done it about 3 or 4 times. And I said to God, I'm going to have to talk to Juanita about something. And God, you know what? If that's it, that's it. But I ain't going to live a lie. I refuse to live a lie. And you know what? She heard it and she dealt with it just like that. The complete opposite reaction to what I expected. I tell you, that took us on another level every time we had.
Yeah, it would.
We started off that way. We started off with, let's spill out all our ugly right now. Right at the beginning, let's share our ugly, and if we can't take it, then let's you know what I mean? Because we had children. We can't get together and we're not really sure that we're doing this. Do you know what I mean? We're bringing children into marriage. So yeah, we shared all the ugly.
Yeah, but I like that. Like, I'm a bit weird like that, I reckon, because I'm a storyteller. So sharing the ugly was, all right, bring me in, man. What you been up to? And I shared all of my stuff, and it was just like, okay, so number 15. So
number 15 out of 4, but that's enough.
This guy.
Guys, just before we carry on with this, because you guys are enlightening, highly enlightening, there is a comment here from someone that we know, and he's asking for prayer right now because he's got chest pain. I'm not sure what it means.
And he needs to stay home.
And he said he needs to stay at home. It's a young man that we've known for years. His name's anyway, Sean. He's on there. So we're just gonna say a minute's prayer for the brother. Yeah, bro. Do you wanna?
Yeah. What's his name? Sean.
Yeah.
Sean. Yeah. You'll see his comments near the bottom.
All right. He needs to stay. What? And he needs to stay inside, but sunshine is tempting him. Is that him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Heavenly Father, I'd just like to thank you for your son, our brother Sean, who's feeling chest pains right now, but he needs to stay in. I'm asking that you give him the resolve and the strength to do what he needs to do. But Lord, we have your promises that say that by your stripes and we are healed. So I'm asking for your swift healing for our brother right now as he's feeling this pain. I know that you can take away his pain just like that, Lord. It doesn't have to be anything long. It doesn't have to be anything mystical. You can just think it, say it, and it be done. But the thing is, you say, is according to our faith that these miracles are done. So I'm asking that you increase his faith, increase our faith, so his chest pains can be gone just like that. We pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Praise God. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. And the others are praying for him as well. Thank you, guys. You heard the audience. You heard, and you're praying for him. Thank you so much.
Somebody asked a question here. It said, "How do you allow the other person to react to your ugly, I think it was. Go down a little bit.
Why is it not scrolling, man? Help me. Sorry, guys.
How do you allow the other person to?
Do you allow the other person to react to your? Do you allow the other person to react to your ugly?
Oh, right.
I think because it wasn't like a shock. Guess what? I got something to tell you. Like say what you did, but you obviously did that knowing that who Juanita is and you can trust her with this information. You know her by now, right?
No, this was years back. This is years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he did.
I did what?
You did know me. You didn't have to tell me.
Yeah, but it was fear in my head.
Yeah, he didn't know how to react to that piece of information.
Yeah.
To be fair, yeah.
And you can't know. I couldn't know what his response was going to be, and some of the things I didn't actually want to share, but I was on this. We need to be honest thing, so we did share. But I just think you just rather than spring it on someone. By the way, I got something to tell you. Just find a space where you can say, listen. I've got something that I want to share. This is not nice to hear. You know, don't judge me. Let's talk about it. That kind of thing. You can't like it might have been that he didn't like what he heard, and that might have been a deal breaker for him. That might have been, you know what, this I'm not really liking what I'm hearing, and he might have decided to go his way. Thankfully, it didn't happen like that. But I don't think that should stop you from sharing, because if you don't share your ugly and then you get married, then in 10 years down the line, the ugly comes out. And then there's another issue. Why you never told me? Why didn't you tell me from the beginning? Why didn't you trust me? And all those issues come on top of that. So I just think, you know, especially when you're grown and you're coming together, you're gonna have some baggage. You're gonna have a past. So, you know, I think if you both almost have an agreement of, let's just be like grown-ups here, let's be mature, let's, you know, I'm going to be honest, and do you know what I mean? I
think that was what helped, that we both was coming from a place of ugly. Like, my breath stinks, your breath stinks, my duty stinks, your duty stinks. So, like, let's compare notes, what's going on. You get what I'm saying? Because we love each other, but we know we're coming from a place that is, you know, we've both made mistakes, and we're both in a space where, you know, we could have done better. So and I think
and everybody's ugly, right? So even if you just think, "Chubb, and just keep it moving, next," you're still gonna buck up on ugly, because we're on this planet and everybody's got ugly.
Everyone's got ugly. And then I think the scripture that says, you know, take the stick out of your own eye or whatever it is before you in. Because, you know, there was some things that I was like, what, Jermaine? But
what was it? Tell us.
I've got some Danielle moments as well. So, you know, I can't be judgmental in that way. Sorry, I need to get some water. I can't be judgmental in that way, knowing I've got ugly as well. So I think it's a state of mind, not like, well, I'm perfect, so what have you got to say? We both got some stuff. And I think maybe it helped that we were both sharing. So it didn't feel like I just shared with you and now I don't know what you're thinking.
They're just like,
He was sharing at the same time, so we were both sharing.
It's interesting that you look back and religion was a feature in a front. So there was a performance, and one thing that has been on my head for a while, it still is actually, is when religion, the religiosity is a barrier between you and your relationship and God. And you mentioned that because it frustrates me so much. I think it's a version of the gospel that it is very destructive. In that one might feel the need to be a certain way rather than just be honest and let's discuss this. This is who I used to be. This is what I like to do. And when you brought up the whole thing about you felt that partly because you didn't know yourself, and I think that growing up in very conservative religious, not that liberal is any better necessarily, but growing up in religious, strong religious cultures, you don't even know yourself. All you know is how to act.
Yeah.
So on spinning off from what Curtis said then, and where he's brought us, how has your faith, because I know you've done a transition, maybe more, Jermaine, from religion to faith, and then Danielle has joined you, met you up on that journey and being opened up, correct me if I'm wrong, Danielle, to the complete fullness and the beauty of the gospel. How was that crossroad, that faith, that your relationship, how does it merge with faith?
Yeah.
And how has that transformed you both?
Right.
Coming from, Danielle, I know you didn't grow up in the church.
No.
And you did. So what has that done for you?
Story, and I believe that God orchestrated the whole thing, because like you said, I didn't grow up in church. I found God in my 20s. My dad died. This is me going real quick. My dad died, and so I stopped going to church. I had many doubts, many questions, was very angry, and would speak to a lot of people who I believed were like religious leaders, people who had been in the faith for a long time, and was asking questions about death. Like, where is my dad now? Is he in hell? All of these kind of questions, and no one was able to answer me that, and so that troubled me a lot, and I wasn't able to move forward with my relationship with Christ because of this. And then like obviously, like we said, me and Jermaine used to go out with each other when we were 16, and neither of us were Christians at that time. So when we got back up together, we were both now Christians, and because we just connected so easily, I was able to ask him a lot of questions. Him growing up in church, being an elder in the church, you know, he has a lot of wisdom and understanding of the Bible that I didn't have. And so actually meeting him at the place where I met him was just, it was directed by God, because I truly believe I might have gone a different way had I not back up with Jermaine. He was able to talk to me about what happens when people die and those kind of deep things. But then because I was in this place where I was questioning everything, I wasn't happy just to go to a church and hear a sermon. I wanted to know, why do we do this?
Why?
They say stand up and pray. Why should we stand and pray? Why can't we sit and pray? I was literally questioning everything. And so when I come to Jermaine, I had like billions and billions of questions. And he would always say, all right, let's see what the Bible says about that. You know, it was never his opinion. It was always, let's see what the Bible has to say.
Yes, Jermaine.
Yeah.
This is why you stand up in church.
So, even though we were highly attracted to each other in the beginning, we also did a lot of Bible study, and we agreed to pray together at a very early stage. And so I believe that, like I said, that was God that orchestrated that. And now since Jermaine and I have been together, I lean on him a lot in terms of my understanding of the Bible. And then we did come to a place where we were both, in terms of our faith and what we wanted in our lives as Christians. Obviously, our company, Final Call Productions, is a Christian organization. We were both on the same page, even though we weren't on the same level, because, you know, I've got a lot of catching up to do, but we were on the same page in terms of the way we love Jesus, the way we want to work together in ministry.
But even in saying that, even with Daniel saying that we weren't on the same level, in certain aspects, in certain respects, she was on a different level. She was on a higher level than me, especially when it came to stuff with Final Call Productions. Like, I would have these desires to move forward with ministry and so forth, but I would like be procrastinating. And Daniel will come in and see certain things and say, why are you not doing something with these things? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, this, you know, waiting for the Lord. And she was just like, well, you know, what are you waiting for? The Lord has already told you what you need to do. Just do this. And she would actually put faith in action and kind of like hit me upside the head and say, let's do this thing. So since being with her, I've had so much poems. I've produced. I've been doing poetry since the year 2000. There's only one together where I produced a book or anything like all of these things. And a lot of the times when we wanted to put on the play, I moved based on the impressions and the visions that Danielle got. So I'll be like, well, the Lord spoke to you. Come, let's do it then. And I'm going off of what the Lord said to you, because sometimes I've not heard it. Like, I would know the knowledge and I know that the Lord is with me, but sometimes I'm like, where's the Lord telling us to go? And Daniel will be like, the Lord has spoke to me and he said that we want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And I've ran off of her faith. So we lean on each other as much as I lean on her as much as she leans on me.
Yeah. Lovely.
And then other days it's like this, and then other days it's like this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that.
Do you know what? I've got this question here, and then we've got about 5 minutes before the live cuts off.
Okay.
Not even 5. It lasts an hour. I'm going to restart it in about a minute, and then everybody will join back, hopefully. There's a question here. Why do you think that vulnerability between couples is an important?
Why do you think? Don't think.
Why do you think? Or don't think that vulnerability between couples is an important element to share your true self?
Who asked that question?
CN Coopers. I don't know who that is.
CN Coopers joins us kind of all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
But can you remember the question?
Yeah. Because I'm speaking to that.
So hold on. We're going to end this one.
And then come back. Yes. Good open loop, my friend. Good open loop.
Mate, we're learning from you.
For part 2.
You get me?
Part 2 coming up. This is why do you think that vulnerability between couples is an important element to share your true self? We do take a picture of it.
Yeah.
See you in a second, guys.
All right.
We're going to restart this live.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm ready. What's that mean?
Thank you, Lord, for good Wi-Fi.
You're correct.
Oh, thanks.
As good as I can give it one, yeah. Just be my true self.
That's getting louder and louder.
That's because you're doing it harder and harder. Yeah. TM Coopers is on it. Coopers is on it.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to know the faces behind some of these profiles, but hey.
Rick Kids is here. Keisha.
Candy. Jermaine's coming.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, back again.
Back again.
Yeah. So the question.
Why?
Vulnerability. Is it key, or why is it key to show your true self?
I think it's key. First of all, I think communication is the bridge between my mind and Danielle's mind. We're not gonna know what's going on in each other's head unless we communicate. That's the bridge.
Definitely.
I think the one of the essential ingredients for communication, for beautiful communication, meaningful communication, is vulnerability.
Right.
A lot of the times we don't communicate we don't communicate honestly. A lot of the time because of our lack of vulnerability. But there is such beauty, there is such freedom when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to just communicate out of your vulnerability. There's so much freedom in that, especially when that is reciprocated, especially when that is accepted by the person you love and when it's reciprocated by the person you love. Vulnerability is one of the key ingredients for meaningful communication. That's why it's essential. But it's not easy because you have to let go of a good degree. You have to give over a good degree of trust and let go a good degree of control. And that is not always easy. Especially for the man them. For the man them, the man them have to learn how to do that. While and this is my opinion, I think it's a good one. With the ladies, they're more likely to do that because they have more practice in doing that. They do that all the time when they speak with each other. The man them, we don't speak like that. We speak to get information. What color is the car? It's green. All right, cool, nice one. We don't share to get vulnerable unless you're with your real bros and you just broke up or something and you got your real bro and it's just like, bro, I'm hurting. I'm really, really hurting. But even for a brother to get to that place, to say to another brother, yo, bro, I'm hurting, he really has to trust you. You get what I'm saying? But when you got that within your partnership, it's honestly one of the most beautiful things.
It is.
I think so.
It's interesting. I think that people, different personalities, you've got trusting personalities and non-trusting personalities. And people sometimes bring their baggage or their self over. And sometimes self has to be modified for anything. It's not going to work if you don't try to change something about yourself. And if being guarded, like meaningful communication and vulnerability is a very deep statement. Like being this close. You want to get in the picture?
I was eating Ferrero Rocher.
Being this close on a spiritual, emotional, and physical level is hard. And at some point, I'm going to do something to her. And on that basis, she will learn to put up her guard.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways that we can drift apart because I don't like being hurt. But I want to throw this out there because I know some of you guys are listening hard, in that you cannot receive love if you're not willing to be hurt. What do you think? Is that too...
I think it's unrealistic to expect to not be hurt.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it. Me and Jermaine have a very good marriage, a very good relationship. Our communication excellent, but there are times where we hurt each other. So it's it doesn't matter how good things are between you. Like I said before, neither of us are perfect, and he might say something in a way where you've now just hurt me. He didn't mean to do that, but I am hurt. And so no matter how good the relationship is, that's bound to happen.
Yeah. And then the vulnerability comes in now, and her telling me, you've hurt me. Instead of not telling me, I'm keeping that because I don't want to give him that power to let him know that he hurt me. I'm just going to get you back, or I'm going to do something to make you know how I feel. But when if she decides to take that route and makes me want to feel the way how she felt, I'm thinking, what are you doing that for? Because I ain't got a clue of why you're trying to make me feel bad. And now that it's just an end cycle. If I try to be like, well, I'm going to do something to make you feel the way how you just made me feel. And I see that in so many relationships sometimes is that I'm going to do something to make you understand how you made me feel.
Yeah.
And that is the course that they take instead of going down the vulnerable route, you know what, you hurt me.
Yeah.
But there is strength in vulnerability. Do you know what I mean? There's strength in being able to expose yourself. It's actually a strong thing rather than a weak thing. To be able to say, actually, I'm raw, this really bothered me, this hurt me, or this is how I feel at this time, or this is the impact you've had on me. There's so much strength in that because you're basically putting yourself out there to say, look, this is me, I'm raw, I'm naked, but this is the place that we need to stay in, the space that we should be staying in marriage.
And you know what, you see when you get to the place where the person is saying, listen, this is me, I'm raw and I'm naked, not literally, but they're just like, listen, when my wife comes to me on those levels, I'm like, my heart goes out to her in such a deep level. It's almost like, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I would do anything for you at this very, very moment. Yeah. For the fact that you trust me enough to go there and to just lay it all out. And it's just like, I'm like, I love you, babe. I love you. Like, you understand?
And I think I think because in life we get so used to putting up that guard or feeling that we should respond in a certain way, that being vulnerable doesn't come naturally. I'll give you an example. The other day, we were talking and Jermaine made a comment, and I not misunderstood, but I took it one way. He meant it another way, and so I went cool. And I got up to leave the room. Now, we're both vexed with each other. Now, but what I decided to come back downstairs and be vulnerable. Now, I could have stayed upstairs, gone to bed, and just left it. It wasn't that deep. So I could have just left it. But instead, I came downstairs and I said, I don't like the way that you just spoke to me just then. It really upset me. So, you know, it might be like, oh, I'm making more of a big deal about it. But it was almost like, I'm not letting this lie. We need to discuss this further. And then it wasn't just, oh, I'm so sorry, babe. It wasn't like that. It was like, okay, I didn't mean to hurt you, but the reason I said such and such was because, and then it goes down that conversation of exploring it just that bit more, because he doesn't know the thought that jumped into my mind when he made his comment. And he doesn't know that he just upset me by the way he spoke to me. So it's like what Jermaine said, there's, you know, the communication is the ladder between us. And there's no way that we can know each other's ins and outs that well to know, I know exactly what she's thinking at this moment. You don't, you know? So,
can you talk about, when we're talking about you came down the stairs and had a vulnerable mindset, can you just break that down on an emotional level? Because when you're hurt, how do you make that jump? And what have you done emotionally to make that jump so that you can say, right, let me go downstairs and have a chat about this, as opposed to he's gonna suck salt. I mean,
Fene.
Going fene. No, that's not this. You stick to the St. Lucian stuff.
I'm half Jamaican. I'm half. Hey, Fene, right in there. Right,
yeah, go on. So what's the emotional jump? What are you doing and how are you feeling?
I think because in my experience, I think we've probably all done it, but you know, I've been down the road where I'm not saying nothing. I'm going to be vexed, or I'm going to think what I'm thinking, and I'm not saying nothing to you. Yeah, but I know that that can be detrimental. I've been divorced, so I know what going down that line looks like. Yeah. And so, like I said in the beginning, we had this, let's go to Honestville, let's live in Honestville. That's what we said. Let's be honest. And so therefore, we got such a lovely relationship that when it switches like that, there's an imbalance that's happening.
Yeah. I feel
and
you.
so now I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not happy to be upstairs vexed with you and you get into bed and I don't want you to touch me. I'm not happy with that scenario. And so what do I decide to do? You know, and it's a risk. It's a risk because I don't know, it might turn out to be even worse argument when I come downstairs. But I'm just like, you have a choice to make in that moment. How am I going to respond? And let me respond maturely and let him know, actually, what you said hurt me. But then I've also got to be ready to hear what truths he might have to say to me. Because I think as well, sometimes we might think, yeah, I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to say you hurt me. And you're supposed to say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always go like that.
No.
So when he doesn't say that, I'm like, wow, this didn't go to plan. So I just think you just got to be ready to, like, this hurts right now. This conversation hurts right now. And I'm really uncomfortable with this conversation right now. But let us have this conversation so we can work it out. And again, in our experience of doing that, we have worked it out and we have squashed it. There, we can go to bed and cuddle and we're all good.
That was the actual moment I was actually talking about as well when she came. That was the one. One of the things with me is like when people walk away, or especially if I'm in a relationship and people walk away, if Danielle walks away, even if it's just in her mind, or she has an attitude and she don't like me no more, that there triggers something in me that gets me all panicky, and I'm like, my God, really.
So there's no vulnerability now, is it?
Yeah. So that's basically what happened. We was having a conversation here, and I said something, and she was like, right. And to me, whether it was physical walk away or emotional walk away, it was a walk away. So that got me like, what are you dealing with? What are you dealing with? And then she went upstairs and then came back downstairs. You don't know how, I don't think I said it to you, but you don't know how glad I was when I heard you coming back downstairs. Because it's like, oh yeah. Because I was like, I don't want to go upstairs in this bad vibe. Like, what should I do now? Should I just stay down here and be moody? Or if I go up there, like, I was just in this weird funky place now. So when I heard her coming back downstairs, it's like, oh, Yes. And then
She's
when
coming to say sorry.
yeah, but even when she's coming to say sorry, it's just when I looked at her, I saw.
You can see it.
I saw that she was her, but I saw more than that. I want us to get back to where I want us to get back to how we normally are, and let's do that. And that one, that there was just like, I love you, baby. I want to get back to where we are as well, man, for real. But this is what it is, though. We're not gonna wipe it away. But this is what it is. This is why I responded like this, because da 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 da. But that's not what it was. That's not what I meant. But this is what I got. And if you say it like that, then this is what it's going to be. But that's not what I meant. And then you get to the point where you're just like, I love you, man. Give me 50%. Let's go.
It's funny because I'm hearing you guys talk, right? And I did say to Danielle I was going to ask this question, if that's all right. But it has to be all right now because we're live and you got to go for it. But
coming out.
You guys are an amazing example. Has it always been this way? Some of the challenges of becoming who you are. What else? Yeah.
In our relationship.
Yeah, because there's people who are watching who sometimes look at myself and Kurt, or will see you and think you were born like this. Do you know what I mean?
The truth is, we're still becoming who we are.
Yeah.
That's the truth. We like when people like to hear you say that. I'm looking at Daniel like. All right, we'll
take it.
For real, I think every day we're still becoming what we are. I think at the beginning we used to have a lot of our arguments used to be about what other people was projecting upon us. So it would be about an ex-girlfriend or, you know, some external thing, and it would never really be about what was happening between us two. It was always something else that was coming in. But those other things coming in taught us how to communicate. Yeah. Taught us how to communicate with each other, and taught us that, you know, to recognize there's no love lost between you. This is just stuff that you just need to get over from your past, and just kind of work it through.
Yeah.
I think we both had we've both been divorced, and we didn't want to go down that road again. So we were both very keen on how do we go into this? How do we make this work? And so it was like an agreement between the two of us that we will now stick to. So things between us are very good, and we believe that we're blessed by God bringing us together in that way. But like I said, that it's not perfect, and we might argue or disagree or have funny moments, but because of our agreement in the beginning, which is what vows are supposed to be, but because of our agreement in the beginning that we really want this to work, we don't want to end up divorcing. So let's squash all the little things from the beginning, because we know little things grow into big things. And so let's just squash it from the beginning. And so, like Jermaine says, it's not like we've made it, we've reached, but because of our agreement, when things come up, and they will, we're like, okay, we've got a tactic, we've got a plan in how we're going to deal with this. And that's one of the things that we got in our premarital counselling, actually, to have a battle plan. Sometimes it's not easy to stick to, Sometimes we will go to bed mad with each other, even though they say don't let the sun go down on your anger. Sometimes we have gone to bed together angry, but then we've calmed down, and the next day we're willing to talk about it. So we try and stick to our plan as much as possible.
And I think a lot when we hear stuff like, communicate and get vulnerable and all of that stuff, sometimes what we tend to miss out of that equation is the desire to do those things. So we know what the battle plan is. The issue sometimes comes when you don't want to do the battle plan. The issue sometimes, well, I know communication is the right thing to do, but I don't want to talk to you behind right now. And and I want to be vexed with you right now. And I don't want to be vulnerable. I know vulnerability is the key, but I don't want to do that. And I want to be mad. Those are the times when prayer and humble yourself and the bigger picture of the marriage has to come in, and a denial of yourself has to come in at those points, and the Christian rubber needs to meet the Christian road at that point, because as a lot of us know this stuff, we know the tools, we know that communication
True.
Every marriage counselor under the sun says the same thing: communication. You ask them, well, I think it's all about communication. Everybody's saying communication. The issue is when you don't want to do the thing.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to pray. That's when you need to be like, all right, I need to humble myself now and kind of do the right thing.
Yeah.
At this moment,
Yeah.
what I know which is the right thing. I need to go and humble myself and say sorry, even if I'm not too sure if it's me. But I just do that for the sake of the bigger picture of the love that we're trying to cultivate.
Real.
There's about 3-4 people said, what is the battle plan? Because the battle plan isn't something that we're going to pick up in the news agents, do you know what I mean? Tomorrow morning. So they want to know, what is the battle plan?
Okay, so the battle plan is going to be unique to you as a couple. So it's not like a set plan that, you know, we could sell it. Otherwise, we won't make a bit of money.
We should have said that.
Yeah.
I got it before you, bro.
Sign up.
Well, we're selling the battle plan right now.
But the battle plan is unique to you as a couple, and it's when you're in a good place in saying, okay, there are going to be times when we're going to argue or get on each other's nerves, and how are we going to deal with this? And then that's your plan. And you, like Jermaine said, you might not feel like sticking to that plan, but you almost want to get back to a place where, so okay, if our battle plan is we're going to not go to bed together angry, or our battle plan is, for example, Jermaine doesn't like it when I walk away. So part of the battle plan is I mustn't walk away. But I do sometimes still do it because the emotions take over.
Yeah.
I sometimes walk away, but then I'm walking away and I'm knowing this is making things worse because I know Jermaine doesn't like this.
But then the thing is, on my side now, I've got to remember that she walks away as a protection thing. Whereas from my past, that walking away means like that's a red flag to me. Like there's been times when I've been like like in relationships, and I've literally gone insane, and I don't know where that's come from. Some next thing in my past where I had to deal with. So when she's walked away, before I flare up, I got to remember, oh, this is her trying to protect herself because she doesn't like confrontation, and that's something to do from her past. So we have to be kind of like, oh, okay, let me ask, do you know you just walked away from me? And then she was like, I walked away because you're doing this, and then that line of that communication thing kicks in again before your emotions kick in again. So that's the battle plan, is just to know sometimes what are your triggers.
Okay. Know
what your triggers are, and before you allow your emotion to run away with them, kind of just like get the groundwork of what's it all about.
Yeah. I like that.
Part of our battle plan is that we're going to be honest with each other, and we're going to speak this thing through until it's squashed. Now, that might not be at that moment. So it might be that we, like I said, we go to bed together angry. But we know that part of our battle plan is we need to sort this. So the next day when we're a bit calmer and we're avoiding each other and we're like, morning. I mean, it's at some point in the day we've got to say, are we gonna talk about what happened last night? You know what I mean? Like, we have to get back to resolving this, because one of the things we agreed was we're not going to sweep this under the carpet and pretend like it didn't happen. I'm not going to just have my thoughts about you in my head and then, you know, and let that fester into something. I need to tell you how you made me feel, vice versa. And so at some point, so even if the battle plan isn't, right, we sort this out tonight, we're going to sort this out at some point.
So I'm picking up a few points from your battle plan. One of them is maybe not always taking offense or understanding your trigger points. For example, if the person needs to walk away from the battle.
Yeah.
The other one is that the battle will be solved. Maybe not that night, but it will be solved, and it will be solved quite swiftly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I've missed out?
To know that you're on the same team.
Yeah.
As well.
Love
it. And this thing, sometimes things could get to a point where you think, right, is this it? Is this what we've been waiting for? Is this the writings on the wall? And it's not.
Yeah.
Just know that you're on the same team. And sometimes our comeback together isn't even, are we going to talk about this? Sometimes it's just, I love you, you know. I love you too, baby. And it's just remembering that before you actually go in to what it is going to talk about. And can we be real on here? Can we be real?
Of course you can.
You've been quite real.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to go and have sex first, bruv.
Yeah.
And then talk about the thing.
Yeah.
Let the steam out of the pressure cooker, bro,
Yeah.
before you open it.
Sometimes you just need to do that. And then in that pillow talk, all right, so yesterday, what was that about?
Hmm.
Oh, that was nothing.
Yeah.
Why was we arguing?
I love you.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of pillow talk.
Yeah.
The pillow talk removes a multitude of what could be big arguments. That pillow talk stuff,
Yeah, I love that. There was a few people that gave a couple of shouts on here. Oh gosh.
Sometimes the arguments.
The importance of knowing how to fight right. Sometimes that is the reason for the arguments. I don't know what context that is in now, but PG London says the Wongs are the dopest peoples.
Who said that?
Dave McQueen said, keep up the good work. That's major coming from you, Dave, so thank you.
Nice one. Thank you.
And we've just had a lot more people join, but I'm mucking about with this ting, so it keeps flying away.
The other thing is that when you're working together, or if you've got kids together, you are still a team. So even if there's issue between us, we still need to talk about, right, are you picking up the kids or am I picking up the kids today?
Yeah, I know.
And then so sometimes that just breaks the ice.
Yeah.
Or I've got to say, did you see that email? Do you know what I mean? And that's now forcing us to talk. And then we're like, you start to realize, okay, we need to talk. We're a team. And then
Or sometimes you might even hear the person coughing downstairs or choking, and you think,
Are you alright?
you're like, you're right.
But because you still care about this person.
Are you dying? Okay.
So I noticed, what do you want some lunch? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not going to be, you know what I mean? I didn't turn heartless all of a sudden. I'll make myself some lunch. I ain't going to make you lunch.
Yeah, here's your food, here's your food.
Hey.
I want you to eat and be in good health. Hey.
Open your mouth, man.
But then, and that's where what Jermaine said was key. That remember that you love each other, because there's an enemy that wants to come in and break that up. And so if you can remember, we actually love each other and we want this to work, then that will kind of calm things down, like emotionally, to get you to a normal place of, all right, how are we going to sort this out? How are we going to make this work? And I think the longer you leave it, like I said, that you're putting yourself in danger when you decide to leave it or sweep it away.
Yeah. My question for you is, I think this is my final question for you, but there's a one after that, another one from Kurt. But it says, what is love? And I think that's very, very, when we hear the word love, lots comes to mind. Hearts, Valentine's, red hearts, I don't know, doors being open for women, chivalry all around, him carrying the heavy bags. That's, as women, we think that. You know, men, it could be sex on tap, whatever it is. For the Wongs, what is love? What have you found out? What is love?
Yeah. You want to go? I think I touched on it before. Love for me is when I don't, all right, for me, in expressing it, love for me is when I don't want to feel it, or if I don't feel like feeling it, or if I'm not in the mood. But then I look at the bigger context of our marriage and where we're trying to go as Adam and Eve, looking after God's garden, just doing it. And then that way, that has got nothing to do with my feelings or anything like that. It all goes back down to the principle of why God has put together. And then I remember, all right, Lord, you brought us together for a reason, and it's bigger than my feelings. My feelings is a byproduct, and it's nice, but you put us down here for a reason, and I love you that you trust me enough to bring me with someone as compatible as Danielle for us to work and do ministry together. So despite how I'm feeling right now, I'm gonna do it. And for me, that is what's love. How I receive it is Danielle is. I think she's becoming an expert at it, but she does it all the time. She says stuff like, I remember one time I was doubting myself, and I was just like, I got this thing I want to do, but I don't really know. I don't know. But she's like, hey, you're Jermaine Wong. You understand? You're Jermaine Wong.
You can get anything with that.
Yeah. And after that, I was just like,
I might have to use that one again.
Take the card, babes.
Yeah. I was like, come home. It's time. But yeah,
I'll show you have Jermaine Wong.
Yeah.
To get me.
Yeah, and I think because I'm a words of affirmation man. So at that moment, I was just like, I got a boom wife, man. All right, wife. All right. That's love. That's love for me. So yeah.
Nice, Danielle.
I don't. That's a tricky one. It is a tricky one because I think my definition of love over the years has changed.
Yes.
I thought I was looking for was not necessarily what I thought love was. I used to watch a lot of romantic films and long for that love, and then realize that's not life. That's not how it works. I know that I spent a lot of my young adult life looking for a man to fill this gap in my heart, and I know that gap was a God-shaped heart, God-shaped hole that needed to be filled. So you know, I've also obviously, you know, there's different love that we experience. What I can now look back and say what I thought was love, it actually wasn't really love. You know, so I think it's hard for me to actually give it a definition.
What is it for you right now?
For me right now, I think it's a choice. One, I'd say it's a choice. It's a choice to love, despite whatever. And I think it's kind of accepting that, like, if you look at the model, which is the way God loves us despite our faults. And you know, because I've had to almost look at myself sometimes. I'm judgmental of other people and say, why are they being like that, or why are they behaving like that? And I can become a bit judgmental, and then I have to remind myself they're sinners just like you, they're flawed just like you, and God loves them just like he loves you. And so when I have that perspective, I have that perspective of my husband. You know, he's flawed just like me, and, you know, got issues just like me. And so if there's ever a time when, you know, he gets on my nerves, or, you know, we've had an argument or whatever, that's when the choice kicks in, because I'm remembering what love is. Love isn't lovey-dovey feelings for me anymore. It's more about love is, you know, almost a journey that we're on. Love is a union that we've made. Our marriage is the love, and so we need to make that love work, regardless of the feelings. And so then that sometimes is a choice. Like Jermaine said, I might not feel it, but I still want our marriage to work. I still want to have that love with you. So therefore, yeah, it's not really a definition, but it's just kind of thoughts around it.
Still have the lovey-dovey stuff though, right?
Oh yeah, I have the lovey-dovey. Enough for that.
It's important for people to know that love changes. It doesn't stay consistent for everybody all the time. It has different shapes and forms. It is true. And your definition is fine, because that's what it is for you right now. And that's an example of the fact that you enter in with a concept of love, but as you grow, you love differently, and you love according to the need of the time. Jermaine has changed, you have changed. Love can't always be the same. It's got to be expressed in various ways at different times. And you got to love Jermaine how he can receive it. You know, and just an encouragement for people out there who are a little bit like me, who I am, I can be a bit blind to the romantic side of things. Yeah. Interestingly, though, I commend you, Juanita.
You're getting better.
Yeah, well, you see more than I do, but she's also grown to actually read me, so she could just take offense and say he doesn't love me because he doesn't do X. And I'm very blind. I'm not ignorant, you know. I'm just blind. Like something I just don't see. And I actually did a personality test. Well, I've done like 3 of them, right? And my personality says that I've got a lot of love, or I show a lot of love, but just not in a conventional way. Yeah. I would recommend everyone do a personality test and then compare.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, so I do love you. But it was interesting because in the early days, he was like, he doesn't love me, he's not showing me love. But actually, I am. I just do it in a certain way. And so she's grown
to understand your language. No, you can pick that.
That's all right.
I think that's very important. I think that's very important because you do have like the different love languages, and say for example, you know, Jermaine is not great when it comes to like the Valentine's and the birthday and
expose him, man, expose him.
Even though he used to be when we were dating, okay. But you know, I'm not going to now make this a big thing and it's Valentine's Day, you never get me a card, because he shows me love in so many other ways. I know that you love me. So I've just learned to accept this about you. You're not, you know what I mean? This Valentine's thing is not your cup of tea. Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? I accept that and I know that you love me. Yeah. Would be nice. Yeah, and
I suppose this, no, I was gonna say we also come from different backgrounds, different cultures. Even though you could say from the same country, but and our parents are, but different cultures, different ways of expressing love. I mean, my family always end conversations with "I love you." My extended family, we kiss on the lips. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're naked in front of each other, and it's just like, this can't happen. You can't be naked in front of your mum and me at the same time. Like, we can't run. You get me? And I've learned to appreciate that his family was a little bit more reserved, a little bit more private in showing a lot more in showing affection. I mean, we had a family Zoom yesterday, and I was barling. My family, I was barling on camera. You know, we was all dancing to some Marvin Gaye and then some Bob Marley on the Zoom and stuff. And everyone was just like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Just comes out freely. And
it's a big family as well.
It's a big family. And Kurt, you can see, well, for years now, he loves it. He's just like, wow, like, how do you do that? And then equally, I appreciate that his family shows love differently, but it's in a way what makes me have to dig for it. And it's worth finding. Do you see what I mean? So equally, it's working out better way. I think if I had somebody who was exactly like me or my family, it would just be like, just stop it, man. It's too much. But this makes you dig for it, or makes you appreciate what comes when it comes. That it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because my family done with birthdays from when I was about 13. It was just like, that was it.
That's it.
He tried to give my mum a car. She's like, nah, where's the Ferrero Rocher? It's just like, it wasn't a thing. Like, when I was dating now, like, I wanted to woo. So, like, I would come up with all these elaborate Valentine's birthday, make videos.
Make videos, you know, done a dance. He got his family together in the classroom and made up a dance and filmed it for me.
For the Valentine. So I can break it out when I'm ready, but this is like when we say that we're not too far, the apple don't fall too far from the tree, because after, it's just like, you know I love you.
But you know it already, so I don't need to do any more videos.
Yeah, there you go. You're not going to love me, man. You're not going to love me. You're not going to love me already.
Saying that, though, because I know she comes from a family that is very respected at Valentine's, so I do feel bad. I do feel bad in not always, you know, honoring the Valentines, and you know, and then sometimes we've just been broke. Yeah, so
that's it.
A lot of the time. But yeah.
Last question.
Go for it.
It's part A and part B and so forth, right? One tip for an engaged, one tip for married. And you can actually hit a single as well if you want.
And you could hit a divorcee.
Yeah.
And you could hit just anybody.
We could hit anybody.
4 pieces of advice.
We've been through
As you see fit. So what comes to mind first? Do you know what I mean?
I think my advice for a single person, I'll go for a single person, is because I remember being single and very much longing for marriage, children, family, that kind of thing. And what I did was rush in thinking I knew what I needed, I knew what I wanted. And when a guy presented himself, I decided that, yeah, this is going to work. This is going to be the one, based on foolishness, based on a little tick box list that I had.
Yeah.
And so my advice for a single person would be to not rush in, because to have to go through a marriage, realize very early on that you made a mistake, you know, and then have to get divorced, especially as a Christian, knowing, you know, that God doesn't like divorce, you know, that's hard. And then the effects of divorce, you know, on the family, in terms of our children are not always with us and that kind of thing, you know, it has big implications. So my advice to a single person would be is to not rush in and to seek God. God knows what you need better than you know, better than what you think you know you need. Yeah. And I truly believe that if I had been more patient, and sometimes that patient wait is a long wait, but if I had have been more patient, then God, you know, God had a plan for me, and God was going to literally give me the desire of my heart. But because I was impatient, I rushed out, and you know what I mean, and all kind of madness come out of that. So had I been patient and waited, you know, God would have knew the exact time, the exact person, knew when I was ready, knew when he was ready. And when God is the one who orchestrates it, then it's beautiful. So it is worth waiting, even though sometimes that wait is long and hard.
Yeah.
I think my advice would be for married couples, if you're getting ready to, if you're engaged or if you're divorced and you're in your second marriage or your first marriage, it's look after your marriage, as in look after it, as in water it, feed it, nurture it, and love it. It's not a job, but it's something that does need nurturing. It's something that does need pruning. It's something that does need cultivating. It's something that does need talking to. It's something that does need time to separate from the daily stuff of life and just to sit down and be like, how are we doing? How are you doing? How are we doing? How can I love you a little bit deeper? And it's how you can love me a little bit deeper. Look after your marriage and look after each other. How
do you do that? Look after your marriage. It sounded like a plant.
Yeah.
Cultivating, looking after. How do you do that?
I use something that a good friend of mine said. He was just like your wife or your spouse is like your child. Now, don't get me wrong. He wasn't going down there, but he said your spouse is like your child. If you don't give your child attention, you're gonna find out. You're gonna see the results of that. It's the same thing with your marriage and your spouse. You have to nurture your spouse and look after your spouse as if she was your child. You don't love her like your child, but you need to look after her as if she was your child. Like, give her the attention, give her the love, speak to her, make her your best friend, be interested in what she's interested in, and love her. And I was just like, all right, my brother, I'm gonna do that. He was just like, yeah. And he had been married, for a very, very long time. Like, I'm a novice to him, and he was just like, yeah, that was his secret to me. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. And it's been working for me.
Yeah.
I hope it's working. Is it working?
It's working.
There was something I wanted to put out there, and I haven't been divorced, but I would put it out there to the divorced and the singles. but I guess probably no, it can apply to both in that. Don't be very conscious about the baggage that you're carrying, and as you're honest with it, embrace it and start having a conversation with it to put it to rest. Because I'm all about walking light and walking honest. Don't ignore it and think that another relationship is going to fix this. Easily done. And that easily happens with single folk. They might have a past and they're just there. It might be the reason why they're not moving on, or they can't be with anybody. But embrace every pain, every negative feeling. I'm teaching one of my children, my son, just everything that you hate or fear, confront it and free yourself. Yeah.
Can you take this time just before we end, just to give a little plug again to Jermaine Thinking, to Transcendence when we come out of lockdown, and there was more when we come out.
All right, so Final Call Productions, specialize in theatre, film, and poetry. So we run a monthly or a bi-monthly poetry event called Transcendence, spoken word event. And Jermaine Thinking comes out every Wednesday. So there's a weekly episode every Wednesday, just giving out advice to believers and non-believers alike.
Yeah, and like if anyone's got any topics that they want Jermaine to cover on Jermaine Thinking Spot, put it in the box now, because he can cover like relationships, church stuff, family stuff, whatever, and he always has like a Christian twist to it. It's very engaging, very funny. So you can find it on Jermaine's Instagram page or on the Final Call Productions YouTube channel, and it's called Jermaine Thinking Spot. So while we're in lockdown, that's what our focus is at the moment.
Also,
I told you she was the brains behind it.
Also, if you're an organization, a Christian organization or a Christian church that's looking to up your social media, little Light Marketing, she's the one who organizes all my social media, but she also does our church media, and she also gets clients as well. So if you're an organization looking to up your social media, a Christian organization, Little Light Marketing, this is the one.
Well, Danielle, we know you're good because we see you all the time, and you are hammering social media constantly. You are very consistent, so we see you, man.
Yeah, we see you. Have you got a poem between yourselves, or have you got a poem just to kind of end us at a short one on love or marriage or anything like that?
Where's our poem? I wrote a poem for us on our wedding.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, and we had it on a pillow, but it's gone now.
It faded.
It gone.
It faded.
Oh,
I should have waited.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Have you got it on there?
Let me see if I got it real quick.
See?
Ask me a question while I look.
Jermaine, what's the first thing you're gonna do when Boris says, "All right, you can go out now"?
Oh man, the first thing I'm gonna do is organize Sabbath lunch.
See?
And get around, and you know what I mean. That is, to me, that is my rave, man. You know, like if I was gonna go to a rave now, I'd be like, what am I doing there? What Jermaine, what are you doing there?
Food and friends.
Yeah, this is not for you, but that feeling, what people get when they go to raves, that's the feeling I get when we're all together at Sabbath lunch.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna organize and do.
Yeah, man, we really miss you guys, and we've kind of been in two places, and we don't know what this quarantine is going to do to us, and if it's going to level us out, level us up.
Yeah,
we're not sure yet,
yeah.
But it was, it's always good to be in this space.
Actually,
and watch with you guys.
Actually, after this, you know, at the end of this process, we should all be a lot further ahead in our hustle than we ever had the chance.
Our hearts of faith.
And our faith as well. We should all be a lot further. Is it there? Have you got it? You can't find it?
Can't find it.
You'll have to just do
Or you want
one of the ones you remember.
There'll be
Got a marriage or singles or divorce or blended family type one.
No, I haven't got one of those. I've got the Lord's disciples. That anyone will do, or
Anyone will do. It's just to show your skills.
Don't forget me. Can you remember that one?
no.
No.
So those are specialized ones. But anyway, I got one. The Lord's disciples. May you increase, but be careful of what excites you. Never stop being the children of peace and daily read your Bibles. Decline from strifing and strifing with the person beside you. Deny yourself and let Jesus' spirit come in and guide you. I'm not going to lie to you, brethren. I'm not going to try and bribe you. The second coming is going to come. It doesn't matter what decides you. It does matter what side you're on, because the choices you make will define you. So if you choose to be lost, the second resurrection will be sure to find you. See, love for this world blinds you. It blocks a pathway to find the truth. And then we find excuses to commit to evil and self-abuse. Let me remind you quickly. Rebuke the serpent's lies and trickery, and teach this to the youth, the young ones. Let's make sure we teach them this quickly. Because it's time to mature, saints. It's time to endure pain and ignore fame. It's time to the true praise. It's time for the outpour of the latter rain. It's time to keep insane. Time to check yourself and your mind frames. It's time to quit playing, stand firm. It's time to stop swaying. Look around you and see how the Lord takes back his mercy, because, you know, the earth is dirty, except for those who are accounted worthy. Those who have a testimony of Christ and serve him only, who keep the commandments and remembers to keep his seventh day holy. Profess this boldly, Christians, and without anticipation, because the Sabbath is the day we rest and recognize our creation. We recognize that we're not alone. We are part of a nation. We recognize that we're not our own. Christ was the life that was paid in. Now the stage is getting set for the final battle to break in. Whose side are you on, saints, and whose side are you forsaking? Whose faith have you chosen to be part of your relation? Build your house on the rock and prepare your hearts for the time of the shaking. Then let's choose to make it. Brethren, I can almost taste it. To be in heaven, walking with Jesus, walking on golden pavements. That's the arrangement. And sometimes I wonder how many days left. But he tells me soon and swiftly, but there's still sheep I haven't saved yet. So away fret. And remember to keep yourselves together. And you will meet with me in the air. And thus we shall be together forever.
That was beautiful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sorry. That was beautiful stuff. So guys, we have told you where to find more of this, and we have told you how you can how you can continue to support Final Call Productions. Jermaine and Danielle, one, you lot have been special today on our live, but especially in our lives, you've showed us a demonstration of faith. You've encouraged us in dark times, and you've encouraged us to move forward into discipleship and into growing in our faith. And we thank you for that, guys. Yeah. And you fed us, and you've opened your home.
Special as well, man. We love you.
Yeah, we love you too.
Listen, you're going to join us again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, we're up for it, man. We're up for it.
It was nice, man. And lovely to see. We miss you guys, man. And can't wait to come and have another Shubzim. I'll turn that speaker box on for you guys.
Listen, I was going through my phone and I found the video. I almost cried, you know, just seeing us all together dancing in the yards.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't do that now.
It was yesterday. Yesterday we bucked up on it. It was just like, look how close we are. You know what I mean?
We're going to have to slide, man. You're going to have to come in about midnight or something when no one's looking. Come quiet. Just come in and just... We'll play. Yeah. We're going to the basement or something. just to say, hi, how are you? A quick one. Blessings. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, guys. For you who just joined, thank you so much. You missed something good.
Yeah.
But we're going to be...
There's more.
Recording this, and it'll be out on our YouTube channel. And for you who stayed with us, we thank you for staying with us, for supporting.
Yeah, we had a good number. Had a good number on there. That's nice.
We had a good number. We did have a good number.
And also, we've got 3 more shows this week, and about 5 next week. So, guys, we'll see you. Normally it's at 8 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock we start, and we're gonna be having more discussions about this life. Amen. And God got the glory today. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Thank you as well, Harriet. God bless, peeps. We'll see you again.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Love, we love you guys. Bye.
Just to touch you.
I know.
Take